can I become a PM? How do I become a PM? Where do I get started? What kind of mentorship do I need? In the current market, what do I need to get hired? These are the most commonly asked questions. And we thought, what better than have folks that have actually made that journey and learn from the best. So today we have Anuj Rathi from Swiggy, and we have Shashank Mehta from Razorpay. Anuj is currently the SVP of Growth and Revenue at Swiggy. Before that, he was an engineer. He started his career as an engineer. Worked at a few e-commerce platforms like Flipkart and Snapdeal, and now he, at Swiggy, does all things important, growth and revenue, as we are in 2022. Shashank is the GM at Razorpay X, and he also was previously an engineer, transitioned to product management. He was part of the founding team at Razorpay, and everyone knows the story that Razorpay has gone through. It's one of the, when I talk about product and I talk about like agility of how fast people things and solving very, very payment problems, the first company that always comes to mind is Razorpay. So today the session is going to be all about, how can we help engineers who are in this position of wanting to become product managers? How can we help them navigate their careers? With that, I'll just give a quick introduction about myself. My name is Mona. I'm the founder at Appraised. Prior to Appraised, I used to be at Airbnb for about 7.5 years. I also made the transition from being an engineer to becoming a product manager at Airbnb. I had an internal transition. I was one of the lucky few. Partly because I started very early. I was the first female engineer there. And so just by the nature of having a very small team, I did a lot of the product stuff, and that's how I got exposed to product management and then finally made the transition into product management. I love to be at the intersection of users, technology, and then marketing. That's sort of where I feel like I find my jam. Which is why I've always worked at consumer tech companies. So super excited to spend the next hour discussing our journeys as we've all started as software engineers and became product managers. What does it take? We'll have 40 minutes of sort of a conversation, like a fireside chat, and then we'll have the last 20 minutes for Q&A. You can raise your hand, and then we'll unmute you for you to ask the questions to the speakers. So hold on to your questions towards the end. And with that, let's get started. We're already at about 140 participants. So let's get going. Welcome, Anuj. Welcome, Shashank. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday afternoon. I know it's just as Anuj logged in, the first thing he said was the Saturday is as packed as a Friday. So I really want to thank you, Anuj, for both of you to kind of take your time out of a very, very busy schedule. And hopefully a lot of people can find value. At least I find a lot of value in our conversation. So let's get going. Cool. The first question I had was, if you can maybe start with the thought process that you guys had while making the transition from being an engineer to being a product manager. Sort of rewind a few years ago, what was running through your mind? How did you bump into product management? What did it take for you to make that transition? Maybe we'll start with the personal stories first, and then we'll kind of go a little bit deeper into sort of the specifics.
Unless you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mona. I thank you on behalf of both me and Shashank. So for organizing this is a topic close to my heart, and I'm sure like everybody who's joining in on Saturday is also quite excited about this topic itself. So thank you, Appraised, for letting us actually talk with such a young set of engineers trying to break into product management. So my story is not like the typical transition from engineering to product management. I was if I go back in 2005 to 10 era, that's when I was an active engineer, and I'd always worked in startups before that, and always on the consumer side of things. At that time, I had interviewed for Flipkart and for an SDE position in their UI team. And one thing that I knew, that I was not writing code always only from the point of view of engineering, but always from the point of view of what makes sense for the consumer. So at that time, there were no positions called product management either in India. So that was very interesting, because when we started discussing with Flipkart, that's what Sachin Bansal, at that time the CEO of Flipkart, he said, hey, there's this new kind of title, product manager, which we think is going to be relevant for us. And you seem to be the one person who has the right consumer insights, or at least a lot of consumer empathy. And of course, you are coming from the technology background, and we'll teach you business. So would you like to do that? And I had no idea about what product management means. I was like almost in like, should I do this? Should I not? Because there was no peer group or even senior group to which you could like just speak with.
Yeah.
And it just seemed that every company will have a different flavor of product manager, because coder is going to write technology, and then there's designers designing, and there's the business people who are running the business. What are you doing? So how do you even calibrate that? Am I the decision maker, or am I just bringing people together? Am I? So it was like that confused state of mind. So I anyway said yes to Sachin, but I also told him, I am an engineer by training. I love building things. So 50% of my time I will spend in building, and 50% I'll explore, or I'll start product managing, whatever that means. So, but Sachin told me like very candidly, once you come in and start with product management, you won't even get time to even install your IDE or database or anything. You won't even be able to set up. We just need the product manager to come in now. And I think, so that was kind of the starting point of the journey. But I think today is very, very different. I think now product management is a way more established. I would not say established as in like every company follows like a very symmetrical way of product management, but at least people know that product management is a fundamental, tenet, and it's embedded inside the company at various levels. Yes. And what are the roles or that product management team needs to play, and what product managers need to play. And of course, in some cases they're more empowered, in some cases they're more execution, and all of those changes will be there. But at least that time it was mostly like, how do you even establish what this means?
Yeah, nice, amazing. What about you, Shashank?
Yeah, I think it's been a kind of like a similar journey, but from a slightly different lens from a Razorpay perspective, right? I think when we started Razorpay, we were about 10 of us, and interestingly, we were 5 engineers, 2 designers, 3 business folks who were the initial 10 folks who started taking care of the Razorpay side of the story, right? And I joined as an engineer. I was building a lot of the checkout experience, the mobile payment stack. Those were the things that I was working on. And as Anuj mentioned, right, similar thing that I was writing a lot more of my tech specs from a consumer and customer standpoint and a business standpoint versus purely being like a tech spec. And it wasn't because I knew what a great tech spec meant, or I knew what a PRD meant, just how I was looking at the problem statement. And slowly started creeping to a point where I was writing more docs than I was writing code, without even realizing that it reached to a point where I'm touching code much lesser and I'm writing more documents. Sales team has started taking me to client meetings, started getting involved in those elements. And I still thought of myself as an engineer, though. I think I still thought of myself as an engineer first, that look, this is what you do, right? You build. And I'm working on what we build, how we build, what problems to solve, etc. So that's what I always identified myself as, to the extent that, internally the joke with some of the engineers used to be that, wait, what do even product managers do? And I don't think we'll ever need one. And I used to partake in that joke myself. Only to reach to a point where, as the company started getting larger, initially we were all with no titles or random titles. Everyone was a software developer, everyone was a business development person or something like that. But in the B2B world, we realized that I think there's a lot of weight given to titles when you talk to customers. And that's when the question came that, okay, probably time to take up a title, because you're doing a lot of customer meetings. Our business teams are also growing with a lot of titles. So good for our tech team to have a balance within the company, right? So that's when Harshil, one of the co-founders, mentioned that. And I think what you're doing sounds like product management. And my first response was a little, I'm taken aback. I'm like, wait, what? I thought we don't need product managers. What am I doing really? But the more I thought about it, and the more I started thinking on what I enjoy really doing, and I really enjoyed spending more time with the customers. I really enjoyed figuring out what kind of problems we should be solving, and what should be the impact when we are solving some of these pieces. And often it would be that one of the other co-founders who was heading engineering, product and everything, he and I would just sit and jam about, okay, how would this feature be built? What should be the API interface like? How should the dashboard experience be? How should customers interact with it? And even in projects where I was not the engineer. So I think that's where I got into this side of the world. And when the chance came to take a formal title, my first formal title ended up being like a product guy. And that's how I just got into it. And over time, I realized that I think that's played to a lot of my strengths, which is where then I decided that, okay, this is the direction I want to go towards, because I had a deal with them that, look, I'll go back to engineering. If I don't like this, I'm going to go back the moment I think that this is not where I really want to be. But it stuck. That's how I got into product management.
Amazing. Very similar story for me. I didn't think I was actually doing anything to transition into product management. I actually was just doing product work because there was nobody else to do it. And I was part of what was then called acquisition, now called growth. And as part of acquisition, I had to interface with external stakeholders. So I had to write documents in layman terms so that other teams could understand. And that just became sort of the starting point for me to start thinking about doing product management. So fascinating. Cool. I think one of the, now that product management is more established and it's more known as a role that people, have an understanding of what the jobs and responsibilities are, and there's a clear definition inside companies as sort of a product management team. How does one identify if product management is really meant for them, right? And as we say in product, the why of solving anything is actually more important than how, right? So why do you want to become a product manager? I think should be the starting point of knowing whether you want to make the effort of making the transition in the first place, right? The sad story will be you don't know why, and you do all the effort to make the transition, and then you realize after 8, 9, 1 month, 1 year of effort that you actually where you landed is not where you wanted to be. So my question to you is, how does one identify if product management is for them? How do they build conviction that they want to be a PM?
Shashank, I think this time you should go first. I'll come in later.
Sure. I think the easiest parts or the easiest thing to talk about that you should not be becoming a product manager because of this is because you think that you'll have the power. I think, right, enough people have talked about how a PM is a mini CEO, and there is nuance to it. There's a lot more to it. There is absolutely very little power that you have. I think that's the first thing I would want to probably just talk about, right? That don't become a PM because you think that you'll have power. Nobody reports to you. Nobody easily listens to you. It's a lot more of influence. And I think the way that, each time even I've thought about when somebody in my team has been moving into product management is, I think, first making them realize what the role is all about and how fundamentally different is this role from what you've been doing in the past. What skills that do you need to really be successful in a product manager? Can you name at least a few, right? If you work with product managers, have you been able to kind of spot that? Primarily because a lot of product management is based on intuition, right? It's a lot in terms of your customer intuition basis, your understanding that what exactly is their problem and why do we need to solve it? And a company is also similar in the manner, as Anuj mentioned earlier, right? That PMs don't write code, they don't design, they are not the consumers, they don't do the sales. What are they really doing? They're still solving some problem. And I think if first and foremost thing is to just understand what value does a product management bring to the table and what are the skills that you need then to kind of do that job. I think being able to draft this and write it down in itself is the strongest indicator. And I think one of the best converse that I've ever had, that person moved into product management already being a product manager because he was so clear on what he needed to do. And I think if I were to go into a little bit of details before, I know Anuj will really structure this for us from the perspective of what it is to be a product manager, right? I think understanding the fact that, look, it's no longer you defining how this will necessarily work, right? The how part of the product in terms of the user experience, the technical architecture, the system design and everything is no longer your responsibility, especially as an engineer. That's what you were close to. But a lot more of what you're going to be doing is about who to solve for, who to build for, what problems are worth tackling for them and for the company. If we were to solve this, what is the impact that we should have as a company in our customers' lives? And hence what it will take for us to build to really solve these things and achieve the outcome, right? I think these are more of your core deliverables than the how part of how it works. But as an engineer turned PM or a designer turned PM, you gravitate a lot more towards the tools that you are aware of, which is solving the problems directly. That's actually lesser of your role. The second part, I think that everyone should be, in my opinion, be very clear about is the fact that, look, this role is a lot more, it has a lot more of stakeholder management. You'll suddenly go from just working with one PM or a designer along with your manager to suddenly having sales as a stakeholder, marketing as a stakeholder, operations and of course the customer as your primary stakeholder, right? Suddenly you go to a very different world, and a lot of people who have made their comfort sitting on their desk, primarily kind of working from that lens, you're suddenly being thrown into a world where everyone's pulling you in different directions and they're looking at you to kind of give structure to it. It's a very, very different world. There's a personality aspect to it also, that if you're of a particular kind of personality who does well with being in an environment like this, you will thrive. But if you hate this fundamentally, unless you're able to really change the way you think about it, there are going to be a lot of problems that you might face otherwise in the role, right? At a very high level, this is what I would say. But want to hand over to Anush to kind of give us a structure over here.
I just want to make one point here. Anuj has helped people, over 50 people from variety of different mediums. I was shocked to learn that he's helped somebody from HR, somebody from analytics, somebody from engineering, somebody from business, essentially all verticals of job titles into product management. So super keen to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Mona. And I think both these things are connected, right? Like, I don't think like product management can be fundamentally, it cannot be taught. Of course, like once you have to do product management to learn product management, but there are few things, as the original question was, like, why should you enter product management? So I'll just break it down into like, what are the qualities or traits that are desirable that you can see or observe in yourself to basically think that, hey, this might be the right, career choice for me. And I think it starts with what I call like the growth mindset. Like essentially you start with, you are never satisfied with the status quo. You can always point out things and see improvements. And maybe it's a small improvement, or it could be like a different way of looking at the world. And I'm not talking about like getting stuck in your own job title and looking at engineer or code and like, how can I improve the code? Or you can look at, for example, business and how can I improve the metrics? You can imagine a different future. And literally, like, I think that is one part where I think it comes in really handy, because then you really understand like how ambiguous it can be. One is like being the ability to imagine the future and be all that is required to deliver that future. And once you like break it down into this, then I think you really understand what a product manager really has to do. Like, one is essentially what could be the new way in which a customer has to interact with that, or an internal process has to be structured, or a sales team has to go and like speak with the clients, or it could be anything around design or analytics or any of those things, but essentially getting better at that. Are you a person who basically sees opportunities? I think that's how I would like to call that part, right? B is like, are you a problem solver? Like, I think if you one is imagining that, and then what would it really take? And then the world is your oyster. You can start with, you know what, it may need me to work with design, work with engineering, write specs, make sure that sales team is enabled. What all things can derail my imagination from coming true, and actually like write it down and being able to do that. Like, I think if your mindset is that of a problem solver, then I think that really works. So one is problem identification, then problem solving, which I think is extremely important. C, I would say that, are you adaptable, and are you someone who really like to influence, around, like, you're in the job, your job is influence. Customers are doing something, you want them to do something slightly different or slightly better. Your stakeholders are doing whatever they have to do, but now you have to like bring them together, influence them towards one strategy, etc. So some of these things become very handy and very important in product management, not only at the entry level, but even as you grow like further in your career and title and like whatever you can call it. So some of these things are, if you are not that kind of person, some of them can be developed and over a period of time, etc. But that's really the starting point. Now I will come to like the thing that at least I, as a product leader, look at folks with what kind of qualities that we would evaluate that is definitely important for a product person to enter in. So one is like really grit and passion, and like never giving up attitude, because with grit comes curiosity, learnability, this passion that I talked about, and all of those things. And you will be at the problem. You'll never give up, or you'll not give up easily, etc. Right? Like, that's super important as a product manager. Then there is, I don't know what to call it. It's raw sharps, or you can call it like problem identification and solving. So we had covered that part. But really, the third one is influence. I think if you have like these three, then product management, in my opinion, is the right thing. So you have to be ambitious, of course. Like, you want to be able to change the world. What are wrong reasons to join product management? That I'm a bad engineer, so let me, or I'm not telling anyone else, but I know that that really, that this path is not paved with a lot of opportunities for me. So let me try doing this. Or power, like I think Shashank put it in the right way, right? Like it seems such a sexy title with, you're the mini CEO, even at this young age. I at least get to control like some of the decisions in my team, and I get to actually deliver on results. I get to present, and I get to talk in forums. That really should not be the reason why you should be doing product management. The reality should be, I should be able to imagine a new future, and I really get the kick out of delivering that future. And that could be metrics, that could be a new customer experience, that could be a new sales process, etc. So that's how at least I think about it, Mona.
And
what do you think?
I want to add one very quick thing here, right? Like I think the framework that you've kind of talked about in the different parts of it, right? I think that's fantastic. And just one element that I would want to add and touch upon is that there's a lens to it in terms of EQ, which you need to be really great at as a product manager, right? If you look at things from a very IQ lens in terms of all of these problem solving and everything, right? There's one kind of a PM that you can potentially be at best. But the magic really happens when the EQ part starts shining, right? Because you're no longer looking at a system problems, but you're looking at people problems, and people don't think in a very rational format at all times, which means you need to really understand motivations, as I think Anuj also mentioned. So that EQ part becomes really important across all of these different pivots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just kind of maybe in a slightly different way, if I had to articulate what EQ is, like, are you able to innately understand somebody else's behavior or emotions, right? And that helps you everywhere. It helps you with stakeholder management. It helps you with understanding, getting user empathy. It helps you with a lot of other things, because even with stakeholders, actually, you work with very different personalities. The language to talk with a marketer is very different than a language to talk with an engineer is very different than a language to talk with customer service, right? You have to kind of understand how to navigate that. And I think that's where you sharpen your EQ, and you get much further if you have good EQ, because it's not so easy to influence, because the core difference, the reason I love the mini CEO analogy is actually a lot of the responsibilities are very much similar to a CEO, because you are a mini CEO of a feature of or a business unit. But where it's a misnomer is the power and authority. I don't think you have the authority to say, okay, I have decided this is what the roadmap is, everybody just run in that direction. Everyone has slightly different KPIs, and you now have to align your KPI with them. And that's where this influence is super important. And I think the one sort of pointer that I want to, I always ask people, a lot of people ask me, should I become a product manager? I always ask them like 3 questions. Do you like waking up every morning and seeing what the newest app is, or what is the new thing that's happening elsewhere, right? Does that excite you on it? Like, does newness excite you? Like, innovation excite you, right? Creativity excite you? And with that there is general curiosity. You want to wake up and see, oh, what is the new thing that Swiggy put out, or what is the new thing that Razorpay put out, right? Like, are you curious about it? Second is, do you appreciate the nuance of the experience? Does it just feel like one flow after the other, or do you feel like, oh my God, there's so many nice delighters, and this is what is going to take this human emotion and make them smile? Or, I love this little notification because the language of this like really touches my heart, right? Do you understand that nuance, which is the EQ point that you were making, Shashank? And I think the third point I always tell people is, do you like doing this on a daily basis, or do you get this in spurts of like, I want to do this once every 4 or 5 months. I like to do this because if you like to do once every 4 or 5 months, maybe product management is not the right area, because this requires you to constantly be thinking about problems and identifying problems. Actually, 80% of the job is just identifying what is the problem to solve, and then a lot of it is kind of gets solved. So yeah, good pointers. But if I had to summarize, I think knowing the why and having the conviction in why is the first step before you do anything else, right? And as engineers, I'm talking from my own experience, because we are trained to think about how. We first think about how to become a product manager, then we think, acha yaar, do I want to become a product manager, right? That's just the natural instinct of how we begin.
So, I'll probably add like a slightly tangential and different point, but it is connected. Like, I think you have to have enough conviction to also realize that this is a career ladder change.
Yes.
You're going to be on a completely different ladder, and you have to be okay to giving up on, maybe you are an SD3 or an engineering manager, etc. coming down there to some other level where you're still a learner, because product management is not going to treat you like, hey, you just laterally move into it. It can happen, but you have to be sure that it is a different move. It's a different career path.
Great point. Great point. So actually related to this, it's a good segue, right? Because people, as engineers, you have different strengths. Somebody is a technical, somebody is a backend engineer, somebody is a front-end engineer, somebody is an infrastructure person. If they had to move into product management, what are the different roles in product management? What are the different types of PMs that you've seen most engineers kind of move into? Right? There's a growth PM, there's a technical PM, there's a core PM, there is PMs at companies which are more tech first. There are PMs at companies that are more application first, things like that. So would love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think Mona, you mentioned, right? Like there are different kind of product manager personas also. And they're like technical PMs. And so at least in Swiggy, we look at like these as three very different kind of product management personas and job families, and even their career paths and KPIs are also written like that. One is a technical PM, which is building large systems and actually thinking more in terms of interaction between those systems and how do I build those, and helping engineers actually build that while being very customer first and understanding where exactly it's going to be used. B, we have core PMs, core product management PMs, which can essentially, actually, I don't even need to like get into like all the details because there are many types of core PMs also. And the third one that we look at are slightly different, which are 0 to 1 PMs. Because in core PM, you already have a product and you're continuously improving it. Whereas a 0 to 1, it's like you may face a lot of failures. It's just completely, it's a different persona altogether. We also have growth PMs, which are constant optimizers of goals. And there's a lot written about those PMs. I'm saying irrespective of whichever field this is, one framework that at least I think about, how should engineers think about where should I, how do I transition into product management? I don't think, I think it is easier to move in between these personas and families. So if you're a growth PM, it is okay if you can become a core PM and a core PM to somewhere else. So step one is literally getting into product management itself. And I don't think we should be too choosy when we are getting into product management. At least that's my point of view. You have to be choosy, but to the level that at least if the opportunity lets you get into that. And the step one of that is choosing the right company. Choosing the right company, meaning like in this company, maybe in the company that you are, like first explore, is there an opportunity? Has there been history? Like have other engineers transition to product managers? What was their journey like? It is going to be unique, and identify that part. If there are other companies in which this has happened, then go and join those companies so that you can start building towards product management. I'm a big fan of what I call the Delta 1 framework, right? Or Delta 1 or max Delta 2, you can do that. So if you're working on, for example, say search or discovery or payments or like one of those, I'm just talking about the e-commerce suite or delivery experience, right? As an engineering counterpart, it is good for you to transition Delta 1 from an engineer to a product manager in the same field, rather than saying I'm an engineer on the delivery experience side and I want to become a product manager on the customer acquisition side. That is too many deltas for you. And the problem is because product management it works and people think that you are, or really give you the mini CEO responsibility and authority when you actually deliver a lot of value. And if in the first few months or say a year, if you're just learning and you're just tagging along and never adding value and other people are still making decisions, you will be written off. It's a tough world. So start, and at a point we are starting from a position of strength, and from once you've entered, then you will get a whole perspective of what all other product areas are there. And I think then make a choice on what do I really want to do. Of course, you can take a risk and do a Delta 2 also. Or you can join a much smaller company who will be happy to have you, but the risk is higher. So in a structured way, if you want to do it in the Delta 1, 2 ways. If you want to take risks, then of course, like go for it.
Delta 1, great framework.
Yeah.
Yes, Shashank.
Anuj just covered like quite a big gambit of this part, right? I think the other just element is where, when you're looking at moving into this role, apart from the area that you move into, you also kind of think about what are the ways to get into it. I think there's an element of appraise coming into picture, right? Where the shift that you make, instead of it being within your own team, within your own area, you try and kind of do something different by upskilling yourself. I think that's where a lot of MBAs also start coming into picture, where people say, okay, I'm going to hit reset, right? But even after that, I think what Anuj said makes the most amount of sense, that even when we hire, for example, MBA grads who are looking to move into PM, right? We look at their past experience. So In the core PM part, we'll put somebody who has worked on, let's say, technical problem statements in the past. Somebody who's coming from a marketing side generally kind of goes more toward the growth side of the PM world. So there are different PM facets, but I think as Anuj said, ultimately the essence of it is, where do you already have some understanding of the problem? Where can you start adding value from a very early basis? Try and kind of shift from that, career shift itself, that from an engineer in the search team, you kind of move into that part of the product itself. I think that's very, very helpful. And generally what I've observed in a lot of good companies is that there will always be more that, the company wants to do versus what it's able to do. And just being able to put your hands up and say as an engineer that, look, there's part of the problem statement that my pod is handling. Let me do the product parts of it. I think that's one of the best ways to move into product management, where you start saying that, okay, I'll take care of the small feature. You don't need to write a PRD. Let me take it up. You focus on the big bet that you're working on. Let me do for this, right? One area that I've often seen gives a big opportunity is the settings page. None of the PMs will ever really prioritize that settings page. But it is the, as Steve Jobs and Mac thing happened, right? The inner part of the product that you may not beautify, settings page you may not beautify. Pick it up as an opportunity, and I think make a career move from that side, that you can demonstrate that you're able to do this.
I think Shashank, that was one fantastic point. In fact, now when I come to think about it, like some of the engineers who have made the product management transition, they were already speaking with their product managers around that. Hey, what are the parts that you're thinking about? They're learning from them, but they're also picking up tiny parts directly from them and saying, let me product management this part of it. And you don't write a PID for that. Maybe let me write the spec for that. And they'll just call it spec, but it is literally a product document. And that does two things. Of course, you're learning, but at the same time, you're signaling to the product person that I want to do this. So it's both the things kind of accomplished at the same time. So fantastic point there.
Yeah, and I think like Shashank said, the other key point is, as an engineer, you actually exposed to lots of the non-sexy part of the business that a lot of PMs don't want to work on, that you can start product managing, right? Internal tools are a great area. Customer service, optimizations are great areas. Settings page, classic example. Every founder you talk to will tell you, somebody please help me with the settings page, but nobody wants to actually take it up because it's not sexy. So you can definitely get started there. So I think you guys touched upon a little bit about what can you do and what are the different types of PMs. Are there I want to kind of one of the core questions that we get a lot is how do I even know what I'm good at? Right? How do I know what I'm good at, and hence how do I know where to get started? So we outlined that, hey, like if you're great technically, you've solved these problems, become a technical PM. If you're sort of have this hunch on marketing and sort of think about optimization on the growth side, you can become growth. But how does one even know what they're good at? Because we all come from this world of optimizing for the college name. Hey, IIT mein jayenge, it doesn't matter, mechanical hoga to mechanical bhi le lenge, civil hoga to civil bhi le lenge, right? We've never had the opportunity to actually explore what our strengths are. How does one do you have any insights on how can one get started there?
Give the appraise test. Understand.
Oh, yeah, that is true. You can give the KYS test. That is actually the one of the things that a lot of people that reach out to me, I tell them, like, it's a fun engaging case study. You're just solving the case study. Just solve it. Take 50 minutes. At the end of it, you don't have to do anything. Just know what you're good at. If you're good at something, then you know how you can multiply. Everybody hires for your strengths. Nobody's hiring you for your weaknesses. So don't spend too much time in like fixing your weaknesses. Know what you're good at and multiply from there on. This is a counter popular opinion. A lot of people talk about identify your blind spots and identify your weaknesses and work on them. I actually think as a product manager, you will lose more by working on your weaknesses than gain by working on multiplying your strengths. Yes, Shashank, that's a great idea. Everyone should take the KYS test. It's free, guys. You should just go to appraise.co and take the test. But outside of that, that can be the first step. What else do you guys recommend?
I think that this question is way more beyond just product management. What are you good at is not something that only people aspire.
I have a question. Maybe I'll rephrase the question a little bit. Are you good at are you good at the core skills required to be a product manager? How do you know that, right? Because some of the reasons why people want to transition into product management is like you said, it feels nicer. It feels like there is more decision making happening inside product management. Or maybe I don't see my future to be very bright as an engineer.
Yeah.
Or maybe I think that problem solving is more fun than actually the why is more fun than the how. And so I'm excited about it. But do I have the core skills to be a product manager? Like I said, one is you can take the KYS test to understand that. What are some other ways, early indicators that you feel like you're in the right spot?
Look, I think there are two parts to it, right? One is what we have to look at skill sets, and the other is the mindset. And I talked about like the mindset and like how you are really built. Like that's like essentially, are you generally a gritty person? And you know that you ideally you should, or you're a person who identifies problems and is able to crack a lot of problems, and that could come from a lot of places. Are you able to like connect a lot of dots from a whole bunch of other apps, maybe even coming from the field of movies and art and literature and so on, and then imagine like bringing all of these things together when you're imagining a new product? Like generally a creative person. Are you a person with who knows like when applied to themselves using a lot of EQ can influence people? I think some of those are skill are what do you say, mindset related things and softer skills. And then there is hard skills in your area or product management, etc. And I think those you can actually read one of these books that in fact that I recommended to a lot. That's called Cracking the PM Interview, and then the next one is Cracking the PM Career. So that kind of talks about this in a structured way on how should we be thinking about a PM interview. While the name is unsexy, it's only about interview, but it actually talks a lot about which skill sets are you going to be evaluated on, and really understand yourself whether you are good at them or not, and prepare for those skill sets, etc. There could still be a lot of challenges because it is, people can have imposter syndromes. They may be good at a lot of things, but they may never realize that because they've not tried it. So you need to, in my opinion, you should have a peer group of people and at least a group of people of folks that in the group that you want to aspire to be. So for example, if you are an engineer, make friends with a whole bunch of other product managers and keep on throwing ideas and talk about what are you working on and how would I have solved it, etc. It's the quickest kind of feedback loop that you can get to understand what are you good at, or I didn't think of it this way, but let me bring it out and learn. And eventually you will say that, you know what, I will never be able to think like this, so it's not good for me, or I'm not good like that, or it'll just start coming naturally to you that, wow, this is something that excites me, I want to do this. That's, in my opinion, the quickest way to find out whether you're good at what you want to become or not.
Yes. Actually, this is a shameless plug, but one of the things that I'm most proud about the Career Accelerator program is the feedback loop, right? I think this is the part that is truly the confidence builder, because when you get timely constructive feedback during your 16 weeks of upskilling on a daily basis, you solve something and you get feedback on it from a practicing product manager, you realize whether you're on the right track or not on the right track. And you also build conviction that you want to be a product manager solving these kinds of problems, right? Because look, even if you had friends, they'll help you once, twice, thrice. They're also busy in their own job and their own life, right? Like doing that consistently for 16 weeks, knowing this is what you want to do is, we think of this as sort of the fail fast model, right? You dedicate 16 weeks, you solve a bunch of problems, you get feedback. At the end of it, you will be so excited about product management and you can actually make the transition, or you feel like this is not something for me. And in 16 weeks, you'll know, so you know how to actually excel at your current job, not have this, hypothetical thought in your mind that, "Arey yaar, no need to excel here, baad mein to kuch aur hi karna hai." So, I feel this is actually one of the biggest benefits of boot camps like Appraised, where you don't have to do an MBA, do a 2-year break, leave your paycheck for 2 years, commit those 2 years, and then at the end of 2 years, you realize some people realize, okay, product management is for me. Some people realize product management is not for me, right? There's a quick way for you to know that. Cool. We're at 4:40. We are going to get ready for questions, guys. So get your questions ready. I have one last question before we take questions from the audience. We will unmute folks, and you guys can ask your questions directly to Anuj and Shashank. We'll try to take as many questions. So I request people to not ask 5 questions in one go, because then it will just take up the remainder of 20 minutes and not give others the opportunity to ask. So one last question. What is one piece of advice you would give to an SDE looking to break into product management? What's the first thing that comes to your mind, Anuj?
Start thinking consumer first. rather than technology first. I think just that empathy and starting from that point of view of how can I make it better for the consumer will completely change the way that you approach problems.
Amazing. What about you, Shashank?
Just start writing the PRDs. Like even if your PM's working on it, take a
Yes,
time out, write it
yes.
down, and compare. Okay, this is what the PM wrote. This is what I wrote. What did I miss? Right? Just start doing it. Get into the habit of doing it. I think you'll learn a lot in that process itself.
Awesome. All right, so I'm just going to unmute people on random. There is no order to this. Rahul, you want to ask a question?
Yes, firstly, thank you so much, Anuj and Shashank, for the amazing session. It was fabulous and great knowing. So I have applied to multiple companies for product intern role. I have been selected for 5 to 6 companies, but still I cannot figure out what to choose because I want to go into payment kind of thing, means like Razorpay, Paytm, BharatPay, etc. But my interest lies in finance. So what should I do to get into it? And also was question overlapping to it. I want to go into finance. Should I go into finance, means learn about more finance, or do stick to product management?
Shashank, I think you'll be the right person to answer this.
Sure. Yeah, I think we actually don't actually hire people a lot in numbers who come from the industry for various reasons. One, there's a particular kind of talent density that's there in different streams that's available, right? Like within finance, especially where fintech is still a recent phenomena, right? It's not like that there are seasoned PMs available who already understand finance. So companies like Razorpay actually don't depend on a PM coming in who already understands and knows finance. Instead, we would index much more heavily on how sound are they as a PM on the fundamentals of being a PM. So I think that's what I would recommend, that if you want to get into this space, good to understand it, good to know about it, but being really, really sharp at it could help. But then you need to be in the top 0.1 percentile where you can really wow with your understanding and knowledge. So much so that, we are happy to say that, okay, you learn product management, but your fundamental understanding of that space is so sound. And typically that happens if you've worked in that domain. So some of such folks that have, come into Razorpay have been bankers, for example, who've been doing this for a career and they understood the area so deeply. But if you don't come from that domain, come from that space, I would recommend that I think being fundamentally sound in product is what a company like Razorpay and a lot of the others would really look at. And I think that's what I would recommend for you to focus on a lot more when you're looking to get an internship in a particular company. And also prioritize companies where you think that you'll be able to round yourself up as a PM a lot more. Companies with a past record of having done this with interns who have moved into full-time roles, people who have grown within the company. Look at companies who really facilitate these things.
Awesome. Next question, Vinay, unmuting you.
Hey, hi guys. I'll be pretty much fully asking the question that is there any kind of certification will be helping me to disrupt into being PM? And lastly, if so, then what will be the immediate position which can I apply for?
Sorry, Vinay, your question is
any kind of certification or courses or anything which
at
will help me
Appraised, we don't give certifications. We don't focus on certifications, but we actually help you make a transition into a job. So at the end of the curriculum, you get your guaranteed 10 interviews, and we have a 94% placement rate. So very rare chance you actually won't get a job. But the first step is to take the KYS test. Know what your strengths are, what's your, what are you good at, is PM a good area for you? And then from there on, I'm also doing an AMA at 5 p.m. today to answer any specific questions related to this in the process. So stick around, I'm happy to go into the details of it. Cool, let's go to the next question. Shantanu, unmuting you.
Hi, Mona. Hi, Anuj. Hi, Shashank. Thanks for this opportunity. So I am a one-year MBA candidate at IIM Udaipur. So what should the path should I follow to get into the PM? And what are the major core subjects which I should focus currently?
So Shantanu, I think you've already taken the first step if you're on the MBA part, while a lot of folks don't do MBA and can have a transition from the engineering to product directly. But if you're not getting the product management opportunity, sometimes it is okay to take a hit reset and do an MBA, I think you're on the right track. I don't think there are specific courses that are going to help you directly with product management. I think it will depend so much upon eventually which company you will join and which parts of your curriculum will be important there. So for example,
Right.
if you're doing a lot of finance and maybe you're joining a fintech company, if you already know that you want to do that, then you can focus on that. But beyond that, I don't think you need to focus on specific courses within your MBA itself, unless your college has a product management curriculum itself. And some colleges in US have started doing that now. Having said that, while you're doing your MBA, actually start applying yourself and learning from outside the college also about core product management skills. And that I think will prepare you much better while doing well on, because the courses that you will be doing in MBA, like either it will be like within marketing, within finance, within even supply chain and operations. Some of them will come in handy at some point of time and maybe they will not, but it's good to become a well-rounded generalist at this point of time rather than just a specialist. That would be my opinion.
All right. Thank you.
Great. I'm unmuting Anvay Joshi.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. So I'm from a tech background, currently working as a software developer. So if I want to transition, then, I mean, is MBA the only way? Because because a lot of times I've heard that, you know, you are from a tech background, but you need to have some clarity or some understanding on how marketing works, or maybe how sales works before you can jump into a product development. So I just wanted to, you know.
The answer is no, Anvay. And
Okay.
interestingly, I, Shashank, and Mona, we were discussing about this topic almost last week. And so two ways to look at that. And if you're following the discussion that we were having, one way to kind of enter product management or transition that is, as I said, like a Delta 1 role for you in the same company. Like look around, if you have seen in the company and in the past, have they been like successful transitions to product management, or they're giving you a reason key, hey, we don't do this, or we do this only with MBAs because we usually hire from outside. We have no, then maybe it's a problem of the company. It's not a problem. It's just like a culture of the company. They have not done it. Then you need to basically find different companies where this is more prevalent and they have seen those successes and so on. Or you can take some other risks on, entering a very early stage company in which you can start as a product person also. But if you're not able to do any of those opportunities, of course, there's Upraise where you can you can go and learn and so on. That will help both with respect to your learning, and also you'll get your 10 interviews and the signaling. So you will get all of those things. And even then, if you're not kind of in the same direction of the product, then you may need to signal even harder to the market that I'm serious about moving out of technology and getting into product management. That is a path that I've seen a few folks take, and even successfully. That you know what, I don't want to be tagged an engineer anymore. Largely because of that, I'm doing an MBA, and of course, I want to learn and kind of I have these 1 year or 2 years of opportunity cost and learning that I want to my MBA and career. But at least I have come from the school from the school of thought that a lot of things that you will learn in MBA, 2 years of product management will teach you a lot more.
Yes.
So you should probably choose product management directly.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, it's definitely not the only way. We've helped 50 plus SDEs transition into product management without any MBA degree. So I can guarantee you with my past experience, that's definitely not the only way.
Thanks.
Cool. Unmuting Gayatri.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so just wanted to understand the major difference between TPM and PM. So being an SDE, you know, you will always tend to sometimes move to technical side of the role, or at least you're prone to moving to the TPM role rather, but sometimes you also want to get into the PM role. So how do you really decide whether you are fit into the TPM role or the PM role majorly?
I think by TPM, are you referring to program management, technical program management, or a product manager who's a lot more on the technical side?
I'm referring to technical product management as such.
I think, as Anuj mentioned, right, that there are different kinds of PMs. There is definitely a lot of the jargons in the market in terms of what is a technical product manager. Generally tends to indicate somebody who's working on building the core product parts, especially those which are leveraged on technology as a differentiator, is where a lot of that happens. But again, it just comes to this, that if that's the kind of opportunity that you're getting, right, it's a good shift to make. It's a good shift to get into product management, even if it's from a role where you're getting to build, let's say, a technical product. But it's a shift that does happen, and then within that, you can always start expanding, because every product ultimately is put in the hands of a customer. So if you build something, you can always expand from there onwards, saying that, hey, I want to start doing a GTM of what I've built. That, okay, as a TPM, I build this particular feature. I want to also be responsible for the GTM for it. I also want to be responsible for the sales marketing angles to it, and start expanding a lot of the work that you do. Typically, in a lot of good companies, by the way, they don't end up differentiating between a PM and a TPM. It's more in terms of the kind of problem statements that you end up going towards. But I think it's a shift that you can take as an opportunity to get into product management and then become a more rounded product manager. I think that's what I would probably talk about in this.
Awesome. Unmuting Chetan.
So yeah, so like currently I'm working as an SDE, and so we see in this like technical role, we grow up to like engineering manager and then director of engineering. So like in future, like if I am taking up the PM role, so like how we can like grow in the vertical hierarchy in the organization. So it's like up to product management, or like we can grow up in the hierarchy.
I mean, these are two separate career tracks. Each career itself, right? Like a role and a career that you have, product manager versus an engineer, right? Each of these functions tend to have their own career tracks very clearly laid out. The easiest way to look at whether there is a solid career track for the role that you are in or not is to look at if there's a CXO opportunity for it eventually. Does it end there? A technical person has on paper the opportunity to become a CTO eventually. CPO is another one, which is on the product side, right? So clearly there is a career path to being a CPO. There is definitely that kind of a career path that exists in this function. Now within companies, there can be slightly different way that they look at hierarchies, they look at the levels and designations. If your question from the perspective that is there a growth career within the PM, or is there like a general PM role up to a certain level only? The answer is clearly no, because CPOs are much more common CXO roles now in tech companies than it maybe was 5 years ago, where it used to be more CIO or a CTO kind of a role. So there's clearly a very, very strong career path that's available. And within the function, the hierarchies, different companies follow something different, but it tends to be very similar to a PM, then a senior product manager, then an AD, which can be a group or a principal, then moving on to director and VP and whatnot. So it's similar to what you might have seen in the other functions.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Unmuting Abhishek.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, so my question is along the lines of what you said, Mona, about taking a decision between going for an MBA and like a shorter bootcamp to figure out fit. Which is basically that I have an admit right now from Masters Union, which is like a 1-year MBA program. But I wasn't sure about whether I should commit like 20 lakhs, 22 lakhs, and then because I wasn't sure about if I wanted to get into a product management role. My story being that I have done around 5 years as an SDE, as an engineer. Then I took a break from tech to sort of, I wanted to get into business full time. So I went to do a diploma in music. And now I've done like a bootcamp in product design. So my other option was I want to get into product design full time, or whether I should get into product management and like, go down that route. So my first question is, will that be a problem for me getting hired because of my break, or if I want to go down the product management route? And the second question being, I think it was pretty much what Mona said, that I think I'm having trouble deciding. I like the creative part of PM, which is writing PRDs. I enjoy writing. So writing PRDs and like that stuff, but I don't know how well I would enjoy stakeholder management basically. So I want to try that out before I commit to like a larger program and like taking out a debt for an MBA. So yeah, I would like to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so maybe I'll take the first part of the question. Maybe Shashank can help with the second. But whether product management is the right thing for you, whether you want to commit a longer duration of time or not, I think that's sort of somewhat of a personal question. Are you willing to commit that time to figure out? If I was a mentor to you, my first advice and my advice to most people is just try to figure out the same methodology that we use to product development, which is fail fast. Know if this is for you or not know if this is for you. Is there a shortest path to figuring that out? The first shortest path is, do you like to do this on a daily basis? Do you wake up every morning, get excited about understanding what is new and what is happening? If that is what you are excited about product management, you understand what product management is, then, do a part-time thing like, a praised cap or join product folk community, start learning. And you don't have to wait for Masters Union, which may be starting in August or whenever it is. You can actually use the next few months to get exposed to it and think about this more seriously. And if you feel strong in your gut that, yeah, product management is for me, I don't want to go the design route, you can always do product management. There is a genre of product managers who are very good at design, and they tend to, internally we use this term called design PMs, where there are lots of features and products that are built as experience products, right? Which is like the headspaces of the world and the calms of the world. They're very design first problem statements, and that's where somebody with a design bent actually helps a lot. So if you like problem solving, then think about product management. If you just like to design great things, then product management is not a good area. Would be my answer to you.
I think on the MBA part, want to add just one element which can be a little bit controversial also, but unless you're time sensitive in terms of your career shift, right? That look, I want to do it in a much more concrete and low risk manner, then sure, MBA is an option available from that perspective. It's slightly clearer path, but as a PM, you'll be doing a lot of unconventional stuff. Most often than not, as a PM, the problem statement that you'll be solving will not have a clear one answer that, look, you do this and you'll get to the impact that you're chasing, right? So one of the key things that you would do as a PM is to solve problems where there's no clear answer. And think of your career as the same product problem statement itself, right? That, look, you want to break into product management. What are the different ways that you can solve this problem? What are the different ways that you can do it? And I understand that there's a certain set of folks for whom MBA makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, I also nudge them to think about that. Can you come up with, let's say, 2-3 alternative ways that you can do it? Because this is similar to a product problem statement that you would handle. Unconventional answer, see if there's a non-straightforward answer, something that works for you, because there is something in your past that you can leverage to get into it. It's another product problem statement. So often I would say that, okay, if you want to get into PM, try and find some non-conventional ways to break into it.
Yes. Awesome. Unmuting. Sorry, did you have to say something?
Yeah. There was just one last question that if I may.
Sorry, Abhishek. Sorry, I can't. You've already asked a couple of questions. There's a few folks waiting. We only have 3-4 minutes left. Okay. But related to transition, we're actually doing an AMA at 5 o'clock. Guys, if you have questions specific to moving from SDA to PM and the path on how you can help, we'll actually do a 30-minute session on that. But I want to make sure that the Shashank and Anuj can answer as many questions as we can from the audience. So Abhishek, just stick around. I'll help you walk through that. Unmuting Yogesh.
Yeah, hi guys. Thank you for this amazing session. I'm also a guy who are trying to transition in the product role from the estate, and I want to know that I need to gain my influence skill, and I need to gain my influence skill to cater someone like me. So I want to know how can I get that skill?
How can I get influence skills? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Mona.
Yeah, sorry. I think the question was how can he build skills that can help him, do better stakeholder management and influence the teams to kind of be a better product manager. I think Yogesh, I think it's just, Anuj and Shashank can add to this, but most of product management is just learn by doing. So just start, running meetings, conversations, adding rationale, writing specs, driving different points of influence across the team. Even as an engineer, you have the opportunity to do that. So I would highly encourage start by just doing. Anuj, Shashank, anything else to add?
No, I think that's the best way, Mona. I think because I've been following like the same advice myself, because it's a very deep topic. Influence is like literally it's like personality, and then you need to understand my personality, and you need to understand the other personality, and then you have to realize why I want to influence, for what reason, and so on. So it's not, I don't think in one of the AMAs we can answer that fully. It's almost like a personality trait that you have to start developing. The good part about this is that you recognize that it needs to be developed. Do not give up, in my opinion. Like, start doing it, yes, but do not give up. Recognize that it's a trait that needs to be developed, but give yourself years and not only like months. Like, don't think that you will start becoming an influential person just like in 3 months, for example. You'll start that journey, you'll keep on improving, but it will take time. It's not it's not a technical skill that you can pick up. It is a lot of your own personality that needs to be shaped in a different way.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks everyone for joining in. If you have questions related to SDE to PM transitions, please stick around. I'm here for another 30 minutes. It was extremely hard to get Anuj and Shashank both on the call at the same time. So I don't want to, I promised we'll keep it to 1 hour. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Those of you who still have questions, I'm still around, so you can stick around. Thanks, Anuj. Thanks, Shashank.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thanks, Mona and Appraised, for this amazing opportunity. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Thank you. Bye. Guys, we're gonna do an AMA for 30 minutes. Maybe we can take a break for a minute or two. We're gonna, I would love for this AMA to be super interactive. Please turn on your cameras. Let's, talk to each other and get to the details of whatever you need to or want to learn about what we're doing at Appraised to help people make that transition into product management, or anything related to your own situation. You're an SDE, you have questions on how to think about product management. Is that the right choice for you? So on and so forth. So, definitely don't hesitate to ask. But I would really, really love for everyone for this to be interactive. I don't want to be talking to black boxes. So I really appreciate if you can actually turn on your camera and talk to me. Cool. Let's get started. Unmuting Yogesh.
Yeah, hi Mona.
Hi Yogesh.
I just wanted to know that what are the bare minimum skills that I require to get into the product role?
What are the bare minimum skills? Bare minimum, there are 6 core skills. There is product sense. There is ability to prioritize. There are design sense, design skills. There is metric orientation, so being data oriented. And then there is technical understanding. And the last is communication. These are the 6 core skills every PM needs. Do you have that skill or do you not have that skill? Is something you can either introspect and figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at. Another easy way to figure out whether you're good at this or not good at this is you can take, we've designed something called the Know Yourself test. This is a test where you can spend 50 minutes answering questions, wearing a hat of a product manager as if you were already one, and seeing what are your natural strengths, what do you do really well and what do you not do well. It's free. It's I promise you it's super engaging. You will not even realize that it's 50 minutes. Give that a try. At the end of it, you'll get a report which will tell you for each of the 6 skills that I mentioned, which of those you're really good at, which of those you need more work on. And from there on, you can kind of figure out where you want to spend time and what kind of PM you want to become and what are good companies for you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Unmuting Rahul.
Hello.
Hi, Rahul.
Yes, ma'am. Hi. So as the speakers were there, so I want to get into fintech product intern. I'm currently engineering in my 4th year. So what should be the roadmap for me? I've been studying product management past 1.5 years, and I've got to learn a lot more things from speakers. So what should be the roadmap for me?
Roadmap for you, as they said, firstly, if you want to become a fintech PM, understanding how fintech works, what are the different pipes, the different tech stack on the fintech side, basic concepts in fintech is important. Outside of that, you just have to start solving problems. Take a problem, start using Razorpay as a consumer, and identify a problem that if you were a PM at Razorpay, how would you solve it, right? Start understanding the problem statement, start writing a product requirements doc. And once you do that, share it with your friends who are already PMs, or share it on channels like Twitter and LinkedIn and get feedback on it. That's one route you can take. The second route is you can join a few product communities where you can get feedback on your PRD. The third is you can do a more structured program like Appraised or other boot camps that exist. You can do that, either of those three things. But essentially, at the end of each of these programs, what you need is some portfolio of work that you can showcase to the fintech companies that you understand both fintech and product management, right? You don't have the credentials today because you're graduating as an engineer. In order for them to give you that first interview, to get you that foot in that door, you need to be able to showcase something that you have the right skills to be a fintech PM. So I would focus on finding different paths that would help me build a portfolio. So that can be joining communities, doing things yourself and getting feedback on social media, or joining something like Appraised, where at the end of your 16-week, you actually have a portfolio of your entire work that you can use as a better representation of yourself over your resume. Does that answer your question? Cool. Unmuting Harshit. Guys, I have a bonus. If you turn on your camera, I'll unmute you sooner.
That's what I did.
Yes, I just realized that. That's why I said it. Yes. Hi, Harshit.
Okay, so how often is this course going to be at Appraised?
Yeah, so we run a cohort once a month. And the program is for 16 weeks. During those 16 weeks, you start with learning the foundations. One of the biggest challenges is, if you go on the internet looking for basic concepts like what are user pain points, what is a customer journey, how do I do wireframing, so on and so forth. It feels like rocket science, right? So the first part of your journey is just understanding these things in basic layman terms. Once you understand these concepts, this is like the strong foundation you need, right? Once you have that foundation, you can start solving problems. And every day you're going to solve one problem and you're going to get feedback from a PM in the industry. For that feedback, you will know whether you're on the right track or on the right track. And as you're solving these problems, this becomes your portfolio. Right, this becomes a better way for a company to know whether you are a good PM or not, or do you have the relevant PM skills or not. And then all along you'll get extensive interview prep. So you'll do between 25 to 50 interviews and about 5 to 6 expert interviews from PMs in the market. So you have zero interview anxiety. This is also one of the more common reasons why people fail in PM, not able to make that transition. So in entirety, it's a 16-week program. You join. Fix your foundation, work on problem statements, actually start walking a mile in the shoe of a product manager, get feedback from the PMs, build your portfolio. We line up 10 interviews for you at minimum. And we have a 94% placement rate. So very low chance you will actually.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I want to start, but
cohort starts once every month.
Okay. Although I'd want to start after 2 months since I'm working on a personal
That's
project.
fine. You can reserve a seat now, and then you can start. That's an option.
All right. Also, one more thing.
Yes.
You've been a growth PM, right?
Yes.
Once. How has that worked with you being a founder? Did it help
PM
is
actually PM is a great foundation to becoming a founder. And this is where I was talking about in the earlier session, which is a PM is almost like a mini CEO, right? In roles and responsibilities, all you don't have is power and authority, right? So PMs who actually become founders are PMs that are trained to work with influence. They are actually I feel like I am a better founder because I know how to come from a place of rationality and a place of influence over, oh, I'm the CEO, I'm going to tell you what to do and you just have to do it. So it's actually helped me a lot.
Sounds right.
Awesome. Thanks,
awesome.
Unmuting Ramit.
Hey, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So I will give you some brief. So like back in 8 months, I started as a developer in our organization. And then there like slowly I was writing PRDs and then exploring that, yes, every day waking up and see like what are the new protocols and the project launching up and what we can do. So like no one asked, but I was doing it because it was fun for me. And like after 3-4 of month of product and 3-4 of dev, they are now moving me as a product manager.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah. So now I wanted to ask, like, so till now the all my approach were like very intuition driven or like very like not defined. It was very ambiguous and like what I felt like, oh, this clicked me today, so I can write a PRD about it.